Well, all right, welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Bertolino here in the world famous As It Should Be studios. And, well, I have a new kind of video. Or maybe a new twist on an old favorite. I've been doing track versus track for quite a while now. Something that I got from Ralph Vieira from the Almost Human channel. But I've also had this idea for a long time that I got on my own, all on my own, called Discography versus Discography. And that is, instead of taking two albums and then putting each track as they go against one another, take discographies of two different artists and have each album go against each other. First album of one artist against the first album of the other artist, and so on. Now, with track versus track, I've started to do where I am ranking the songs on the albums, and then I'm putting them against each other in the order that I prefer them. With discography versus discography, I'm doing them chronologically because I don't want to rank them, because if I rank them, then I won't be able to do ranking videos for these artists later, will I? Now, for this video, as you've already seen, I'm doing John Lennon solo against Paul McCartney solo, and well, it's, post-Beatles, because I'm doing Wings as well. So it's John Lennon against Paul McCartney. Wings is going to be included. I've already done an album ranking for McCartney, but I haven't done one for Lennon. And, if I rank the albums right here for this video, then I can't do a ranking the Lennon albums later on now, can I? And, I don't want to miss out on that opportunity. Okay, so I'm doing 8 albums against one another because the Lennon discography in total, not counting two versions, Life with the Lions and Wedding album, I'm not including those albums, okay? People, cry and moan all you want. I'm not including those. We're going Lennon, Plastic Ono Band through Milk and Honey. That's 8 albums. And so I'm going to do those albums against the first 8 McCartneys. Okay? So we're doing 8 albums here. Let's do it. Okay, so first off we have John Lennon's Plastic Ono Band album from 1970 against Paul McCartney's first solo album, McCartney, also from 1970. And, which do I prefer? Man, that's an easy one. That is an easy one. Plastic Ono Band. All day, every day. You kidding me? Now, I'm going to tell you something. I think overall, McCartney has by far the strongest solo discography out of any of the 4 Beatles. Yeah, you George people, whatever. Some great Lennon albums, but, granted, McCartney has way more albums to go by, but I think his solo stuff is way stronger. In the big picture. Obviously, he has some clunkers, but in this case, John gets this really easy because, Plastic Ono Band not only is such a strong album all the way through. Everything about this album is so great. The songs, the theme running through, the playing, just like the vibe and the raw sort of, power trio band going on to John Lennon and Klaus Voormann and Ringo, and it's just such a great record. The McCartney album, however, does have my very favorite song out of both these albums. My very favorite song out of any song on both these albums is Maybe I'm Amazed. It beats anything on either of these albums easily, even the Lennon album. But most of the McCartney album is just, sketches and instrumentals and stuff. Now, if the McCartney album was mostly stuff on the level of, Maybe I'm Amazed and Every Night and, say, Junk, I don't know. The McCartney album might win. But as it stands, Lennon. Okay, so up next we have John Lennon Imagine from 1971, which goes up against Paul and Linda McCartney's 1971 album, Ram. Those are a couple of titans. Going against one another. But you know what? That is an easy choice for me. For me personally, that is a runaway easy choice. Ram. Fuck yeah. Absolutely Ram. Imagine is a great album. I don't love it as much as most people do. It's not one of my very favorite Lennon albums. I really love the album. It's absolutely a great album, but I don't love Imagine as much as other people do. Ram, by far better for me. Well, I don't know, better. I love it more. I love Ram more. I give it to Ram. Okay, number 3 or number 3, I guess. Next up, I don't know. This is my first time doing this. I don't know what I'm doing. Next up, it's Lennon's "Sometime in New York City" from 1972, and that goes up against Wings' "Wildlife," the debut Wings album, also from '71. Like Ram, McCartney doesn't have a '72 album, so "Sometime in New York City" versus Wings' "Wildlife," and this is easy too. This is very, very easy. This is like, yeah, this is so simple, so simple. Wildlife. A lot of people really can't stand Wildlife, and there are some songs on it. There are some tracks on that I really don't like myself, but overall I like that album. "Sometime in New York City" is terrible. I think "Sometime in New York City" absolutely sucks. Really, the only great track on that for me is "New York City." And really, that isn't that much of a song. That isn't really a great track or a great song, but I like it. It's like a good, simple, rockin' Chuck Berry style song. It's way better than anything else on that album by a country mile. Yeah. Wildlife. Okay. Now we have up next for Lennon, "Mind Games" from 1973 versus McCartney and Wings' 1973 album "Red Rose Speedway." That one's not as easy. That was not as easy. Because I like both of these albums, but neither of them are particularly strong albums for either artist, in my opinion. I definitely like them, and there are, yeah. The thing is honestly, I think there are more songs that I actually like on the Lennon album than the McCartney album. But the highs on the McCartney album are way higher. "My Love," "Get on the Right Thing." Oh man, there's some really, really strong stuff on that. "When the Night." Had there been a Beatles album in 1973, "When the Night" would have been a great Beatles track. But so how do I want to do this? See, the thing about Mind Games is I always, when I was younger, when I was first hearing this album, it seemed really bland to me. I didn't like it at all. There was nothing I could latch onto. No matter what song I listened to, 5 minutes after I listened to it, I wouldn't remember how it went. I really loved the title track, but over time, I came to really like it. I still kind of forget the song sometimes and have to go back and re-listen, but every time I go back and re-listen, I'm like, I know I really like this. I like these songs. But I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna go with McCartney. I'm gonna go with "Red Rose Speedway," simply because, like I said, the high points on that album are far beyond the high points on the Lennon album, even though I like more songs on the Lennon album. I mean, if I'm gonna reach for one of those albums to listen to, I probably would go "Red Rose Speedway" first. So, there you go. Alright, so up next, "Walls and Bridges." John Lennon, "Walls and Bridges," that's 74, up against McCartney and Wings, "The Great Band on the Run." Man, see, now this is rough. I mean, I know what I'm going to pick, but it's rough because I love "Walls and Bridges." I think "Walls and Bridges" is a terribly underrated Lennon album. Definitely one of my favorites. But man, "Band on the Run"? Come on. Of course I'm going to take "Band on the Run." Now, I'm going to say this. Once again, just like the last pair up, I actually like, I think, more songs in the Lennon album than I like in the McCartney album. Because now let me explain, and I talked about this in my McCartney ranking video. "Band on the Run," side 1, is flawless. Easily one of the best album sides in the history of pop music, in my opinion. It's absolutely, you couldn't improve on side 1 of "Band on the Run." Side 2, I like it, but it's not even half as good. "Walls and Bridges" is consistently good all the way through. I mean, I don't think there's a single track on it. I mean, "Ya Ya" is a throwaway, but yeah, I like the whole Lennon album. "Beef Jerky," I guess, is there's a couple throwaways, but I feel like overall it's more of a consistent album. But side 1 of "Band on the Run" easily wins this for that album. Not even a contest. Okay, so what do we have next? Alright, so coming up next, Lennon's "Rock and Roll." It's a covers album, but, it's listed on Wikipedia as officially one of his regular studio albums, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to include this. And also, this discography would be way too short if I cut it, right? So "Rock and Roll" versus Wings, "Venus and Mars." Venus and Mars. That's open and shut case. Boom, no problem. Rock and roll, you know, it's not that great. It's not that great. And Venus and Mars. Go watch my McCartney ranking video and you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Okay. All right. So next up, we have Lennon and Ono with Double Fantasy from 1980. Yeah, the comeback album against Wings' 1976 album, Wings at the Speed of Sound. Ooh. This is actually a pretty tough one. This is a very tough one, okay, because both of these albums are very spotty. The Lennon album, for obvious reasons, I really like all the Lennon tracks, but, and I don't, you know, nothing against Yoko, I just, you know, I don't like the Yoko tracks in the album that much. So it's a spotty album. You know, I don't mean that as like, you know, tired old, you know, Yoko hate. I just don't like the tracks. The Lennon stuff is really strong. You know, I mean, Woman, Watching the Wheels, you know, I'm Losing You, yeah, Beautiful Boy. I mean, come on, man. It's way better than anything on Mind Games or Sometime in New York City, and, you know, come on. Wings at the Speed of Sound is also very spotty. There's some weak stuff in that album, but it also has Let 'Em In, Silly Love Songs, Beware My Love. Man, there is some great stuff on that album. In a way, they're almost tied because they kind of both have almost the exact same things going for them. If I'm going to be real, the contest between these two albums is really between Woman, Watching the Wheels, you know, and say, like I said, I'm Losing You versus Let 'Em In, Silly Love Songs, and Beware My Love. That's kind of really where the competition really lies. And Woman and Watching the Wheels are just, oh my god, I love those tracks so much. And they run so deep for me. But Let 'Em In and Silly Love Songs kind of do as well because I grew up as a kid in the 70s, and that's just such a part of my early years of listening to the radio really more than this album. And, you know, and Wings of the Speed of Sound has that 70s sound, that nice warm mid-70s sound that I like so much more. You know, and the Lennon album has all those Yoko tracks that I just don't like. But you know what? I'm going to go with the Lennon album. I know it's a big, long thing. I had to really kind of dissect this, you know, in real time before your very, very eyes here. But I'm going with the Lennon album because Woman and Watching the Wheels. That wins it for Lennon. Okay, all right. And I just realized I haven't been taking a tally, so I'm going to have to kind of go back and see if I can figure this out at the end. Who wins? Maybe you guys have been taking a tally. Maybe you can tell me. Okay, so last up we have the posthumous Lennon Milk and Honey album. Same format as Double Fantasy, John Yoko, against Wings' London Town. Well, neither albums are particularly strong, but I'm going to go London Town. I'm going to go London Town on this because there are quite a few tracks I like on that record. Probably more tracks than on Milk and Honey. Milk and Honey has an unfair sort of disadvantage because a lot of the tracks are kind of unfinished. You know, a lot of the Lennon vocals are just scratch vocals. They're not even the vocal he would have, you know, settled on in the end had he finished the tracks. And you know, again, half the tracks are by Yoko, and I just don't like them. And you know, there are a number of tracks on the London Town album, on the Wings album, that I don't really like. But I'm gonna go London Town on this. So let's see. Let me see if I can figure out what we have here. Yeah, so Lennon only got 2. McCartney got all the rest. McCartney got 6. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, when it comes to Beatles, I'm more of a Lennon guy, but as far as what they did after the Beatles, McCartney all the way for me. And yeah, this kind of cements that, doesn't it? Okay, well, anyway, thank you guys, everybody, for watching these videos, and thank you everybody who has subscribed. But if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing, and if you do, ring the little bell for notifications. Because maybe like the video if you want to help out. That kind of in a way helps the algorithms a little bit more than anything else, but I think, as I understand it, so there's always that. But you might want to come back this Thursday, because Crystal Durant and Tommy Von Void are going to be back, and we are going to be discussing our favorite albums, or favorite albums of the year 2000. Yeah, the Albums of the Year series continues, and yeah, we're out of the 90s and we're into the 2000s. This is uncharted territory, people, because we're going into the 2000s and into the teens and into the 20s. Yeah. So, who knows where it's going to go from here? Come back Thursday to find out. All right. See you guys soon.